So this is going to be a discussion about the Bible, in particular Romans 13, controversial section of the Bible. An old friend of mine who worked on the Ron Paul campaign 2007 and 2008 recently converted from agnosticism to some sort of Protestant religion that her parents and grandparents belonged to, I guess. Presumably baptism, I'm not sure. But I'm just guessing because now she likes Chuck Baldwin, the Baptist pastor and presidential candidate that Ron Paul endorsed after bowing down in 2008. I like Ron Paul, but only for his homeschool stuff. I'm sick and tired of politics in general. But I'll try to. We had an interesting discussion at Tacos El Griense in Hayward earlier today around noontime. And it went on for about an hour and a half. It's a pretty good discussion. I'll try to summarize Romans 13. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities. That first verse is what kind of made her upset. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Okay. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. Doesn't say what type of judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Who would you have no fear of? The one who is in authority. And do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be in subjugation, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this, you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all that is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. Okay. So I did one of the translations of Romans 13 just now. The section that irritated my friend. I guess she's a minarchist. Personally, I'm an anarchist, and I'll tell you why. Because there are more anti-state passages in the Bible than Romans 13. I think by writing Romans 13 as so-called God's law, John was just trying desperately and failing on purpose to fool Nero into thinking that Christianity at the time was not any threat to his throne, and subsequently martyrdom of Christians during early Rome would help future generations remember that they were really a bunch of pacifists and non-rebels. If good people tell the truth to Nero, bad Nero will think they are lying. If Christ and his followers hadn't died nailed to crosses at the whim of the Romans, nobody would have remembered Jesus thousands of years later. On the other hand, it was unfortunate that Constantine went overboard by melding church and state together later on. I suppose this was one of the unintended consequences of Christian martyrdom, but unfortunately my statist mom, who's also Catholic, by the way, thinks Constantine was a Catholic hero for his misguided combination of church and state power. Personally, as a Catholic, I do not think that Constantine ought to be a Catholic saint. Now, here are the passages. In those days, Israel had no king. Everyone did as they saw fit. Judges 20, chapter 21, verse 25. Israel asked for a false idol king, Saul, and despite God's warnings, subsequently Israelites spend much of the remaining Old Testament coping with things like militarism, conscription, and taxation. 1 Samuel 8. Then there's, but I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which desperately use you and persecute you. Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. The state founded on violence contravenes the Sermon on the Mount and Jesus' message of love that I just mentioned. Another instance of rejection of state power is when Satan promises Jesus all the kingdoms of the world. And Jesus says, you ain't fooling me, pal. Jesus is fully aware that the state is a magnet for sociopaths, more in line with Satan himself. The best portrayal of this failed attempt to tempt Jesus in the desert was in the Gospel according to St. Matthew, a Pier Paolo Pasolini flick from 1964. I'll post the link in the description box, starting at 30 minutes, 32 seconds in the movie. Highly recommended. There's also a great movie called Barabbas from 1961, I think. I'll post the description in the trailer box. Throughout the entire movie, the Romans refer to the early Christians as enemies of the state. The book of Revelation talks about 666, aka the beast, which can only mean state or political power. And we've got some more here. Those great beasts, which are four kings which arise out of the earth. It's from the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 17. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different than all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it into pieces. Daniel chapter 7, verse 23. The beast from the sea, which is a metaphor for the Roman Empire, is detailed in Revelation 13, verses 1 through 10. So that's about all I have to say. I think Paul was clever. He was trying to antagonize Nero in a way by making it look that he was fooling Nero into thinking that Christians were peaceful, pacifist type individuals, and Nero would then think that the opposite, that they're criminals who deserve to be crucified, because they challenge his state power, which is just another form of violence. So that's about the end of my video. I just wanted to summarize my thoughts and capture them. I did a lot of research on Wikipedia, under Christian anarchism. Also did some research on some libertarian interpretation of Romans 13. Did a little research on Revelation in the book of Daniel. So those are my sources for this video. And if you want to, I'll post the links in the description box so you can check them out. Everything that I reference here in this video. That's the end of my reviews. Laters.